This is the definitive, brutal end of Hollywood as we knew it. For one full century, Warner Brothers stood as a fortress. The immovable, legendary home of Superman, Casablanca, Harry Potter, and the entire sprawling creative empire of HBO. For just as long, Netflix was the reckless disruptor, the quirky mail-order DVD service that successfully bet every single dollar on the future of streaming. 2 weeks ago, Netflix walked up to the fortress gates and, in the largest deal of the decade, simply paid the toll. The deal: an overwhelming $82.7 billion. Netflix is set to acquire the studio, the iconic HBO, its struggling Max platform, and the entire historical vault of Warner's film and television history. This is not a balanced merger. This is a cold strategic conquest, and it comes with a price tag so large it exposes the raw, crippling panic gripping the entertainment world today. This isn't a fight over who makes the next hit show. It is a consolidation of cultural history itself. To understand why this acquisition is the defining monopoly threat of the streaming era, you have to look closely at the desperate, dirty bidding war that led to it. Warner Brothers Discovery was a house built on financial quicksand. Choked by $48 billion in debt and struggling with a fundamentally flawed streaming strategy, the company was finally forced to put its most prized assets up for auction. The bidders included the industry's heaviest hitters: Comcast, Paramount, and the quiet giant Netflix. The winning bid from Netflix was an aggressive mix of cash and stock, valuing the studio at over $27 per share. It was a decisive knockout. But what makes this deal truly unfiltered models, analysis material, is one number that Netflix tried to bury: $5.8 billion. That number is the gargantuan breakup fee Netflix agreed to pay if US regulators legally block this transaction. It is one of the largest corporate breakup fees in financial history, a terrifying warning sign confirming that Netflix knew precisely how much regulatory scrutiny was coming. They paid almost $6 billion just for the privilege to try and own Warner Brothers. The market's response was immediate and harsh. Antitrust groups and US lawmakers called the deal an unmitigated disaster that would destroy what little competition remains. When one single company already controls 21% of the US streaming market and then suddenly adds the complete legacy of HBO, DC, and New Line Cinema, you are no longer dealing with a competitor. You are dealing with a titan whose power is now essentially unchecked. But why did Netflix, a company that famously prefers internal organic growth, risk this much capital and regulatory exposure for a century-old studio? The answer lies in the biggest, most fundamental structural weakness they never wanted you to see. Netflix's greatest financial strength was its sheer volume, producing hit after hit like Squid Game, Wednesday, and Stranger Things. But financial models confirm that hits have a very short shelf life. They are excellent at attracting new subscribers, but they fundamentally fail at one crucial task: keeping them locked in for a decade, especially when rival services offer a cheaper escape route. Netflix had transient hits, but it did not possess genuine heritage. It did not own the sprawling, deep catalog of generational intellectual property that could be endlessly monetized and reimagined across multiple lucrative formats, from blockbuster movies and high-margin video games to theme park attractions. It did not have the permanent anchor that keeps an audience subscribed for decades, regardless of the new content produced that month. The Warner Brothers lot is quite literally the house that defined Hollywood. This $82.7 billion acquisition instantly and violently solves Netflix's core structural weakness, transferring a century of untouchable cultural ownership. HBO. This is the jewel in the crown. Game of Thrones, Succession, The Sopranos, and The White Lotus. The undeniable gold standard of premium, prestige television instantly falls under Netflix's monolithic banner. The company that invented binge-watching now owns the best TV dramas ever made. DC Studios, the entire cinematic and comic universe of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and the entire DC roster. An intellectual property vault that stands as a direct, powerful rival to Disney's dominant Marvel machine. Netflix just bought its own comic book universe. The classics and the fantasy, the full, enduring vault of Harry Potter, the entire saga of The Lord of the Rings, via New Line Cinema, The Matrix, and film classics from Casablanca to The Exorcist. These franchises are not just content. They are evergreen financial engines that spin off cash every single year. The deal irrevocably transforms Netflix from the single largest distribution platform into the unparalleled largest IP owner and distribution platform combined. As Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos stated, Warner Brothers defined the last century of entertainment, and now, Netflix is positioned to define the next one. This shift changes the entire bargaining leverage with every single creative executive, actor, and writer in Hollywood. The most critical, terrifying fight for this deal is still ahead. The regulatory probe will make or break this entire transaction and could take up to 18 months to resolve. High-profile lawmakers have already called for immediate action, labeling this the most significant antitrust test of the streaming era. The concerns for the consumer are chillingly clear. 1. Reduced competition and pricing power. This deal eliminates a major competitor, HBO Max, from the market and grants the merged entity unprecedented pricing power. Financial analysts across the board warn that if you believe your subscription prices are going down or stabilizing, you are living in a cinematic fantasy land. Market consolidation like this almost always results in forced bundling, decreased options, and significant mandatory price hikes for the end user. 2. Less creative diversity. The powerful Writers Guild of America has already called for the deal to be legally blocked, arguing that one dominant buyer of content will fundamentally reduce the volume, quality, and diversity of independent creative content being produced, favoring only expensive, globally aligned titles that fit the Netflix machine. This is a creative chokehold. 3. The threat to theaters. Netflix has promised to honor Warner Brothers' short-term theatrical commitments. But influential industry leaders, including director James Cameron, have called the proposed merger a fundamental disaster for the global ecosystem of movie theaters. The likely, irreversible outcome is severely shortened theatrical windows, much faster moves to the streaming platform, and the eventual, slow, painful erosion of the essential cinematic experience itself. Netflix's bold, terrifying $82.7 billion gamble signals a decisive, foundational shift. Streaming is no longer a diverse collection of competing, innovative services. It is rapidly consolidating around 2 or maybe 3 impenetrable global players: Disney, Amazon, and now Netflix, the new content titan. The days of cheap, abundant, and competitively priced streaming choice are fundamentally over. The entertainment industry has reached its endgame. Netflix has secured the heritage it lacked and the undisputed global dominance it desperately craved. The only remaining question is who will truly pay the final, staggering price for this conquest: the regulators, the creatives, or ultimately you, the subscriber. The fight is no longer about who can make the best new show this month. It's about who owns the largest, deepest, most valuable vault of intellectual property. And now, Netflix owns the unquestioned keys to the kingdom. Make sure you subscribe to Unfiltered Models for more deep dive breakdowns and financial analysis like this.